Hello friends, John Dalton here, Further Emergence podcast where we explore the mystery, love and consciousness. And in this episode we go into manifestation, commitment, acceptance, being tender, facing our shadow, making progress, and we've got questions about illness and loss and spiritual challenges. So let's start by going into a quick review of the memes on the Further Emergence Instagram feed. First one I wrote, it says, "Waking life is an illusion. It's most enjoyable if you take it seriously without believing it is real." And if life came with a instruction manual, and if life was made by Apple, you know, the way Apple have very minimal instructions on their products. You know, I got an Apple Pencil last year. I don't think it had any instructions, or maybe one drawing. This would be the instruction for life. Waking life is an illusion. It's most enjoyable if you take it seriously without believing it's real. And where the pain is when we believe it's real. And it's very believable. It's meant to be believable. Like, existence is meant to be believable. This illusion is meant to be believable. It wouldn't be enjoyable if it wasn't. And it's a bit like bringing a child to the movies and they are having a great time until it gets to a scary scene in the movies. And you almost feel like you have to say to them, it's okay, it's not real. You know, no, it's not, it's okay. Everything's going to be all right. They're just pretending. It's having the capacity to be able to do that for ourselves when we are taking it too seriously or we're believing it's real. Because in a strange way, when you realize that life is an illusion, you actually take it more seriously because you realize that you're here, you're doing something that's significant to you. It's not just happening, it's not just this thing that happened. You're involved in something that's very significant to you. In this similar kind of way to if you went to a movie, you kind of go for a reason. Usually it's to enjoy the movie. And it's, in a weird kind of way, it's like knowing that you're there on purpose. So, yeah. Take it seriously without believing it's real. I wrote the next one. I created the next meme, but I didn't come up with it. I heard it and I just thought, man, that is so important to know. And it's really simple. It says, you don't get what you want, you get who you are. And this it came from the whole kind of manifestation community. Is that a thing? Is there a manifestation community? I think there is. But it applies to pretty much everything. And it's this idea of thinking that all I have to do is get very clear about what I want and then focus on that. And then when it doesn't happen, wondering why didn't it happen. If you know that you don't get what you want, but you get who you are, then you realize that you can visualize and you can get specific till you're blue in the face. But until you begin to look inside at the beliefs that you've got, the subtle way that you think, or the subtle shape of your thinking, that is shaping the outcome that you get. Unless you begin to look at that, you can never change it. So it starts with this, I have to say, it's a kind of like a slap in the face kind of a thing where you go, you don't get what you want, you get who you are. And then you look around your life and go, so this is who I am. And there is a space there to start, you know, the legion of voices in your head that want to give you a hard time about things will like go, okay, great, let's go to tea on this one. So it's not to do that. It's not to give yourself a hard time. It's not to, you know, just make a stick to beat yourself with. But it's more a way of holding up a mirror and going, okay, you don't get what you want, you get who you are. So this is where my work is. It's to look in your life and go, this is where my work is. This is what I need to change. I need to find what has gone on inside me that has created this. But also not just to limit it to manifestation. And I don't have a Lamborghini, if that's what you want. I don't have a Lamborghini. So, I have to figure out what belief systems I have inside. I mean, yeah, that is that, but go deeper. Always go deeper into the bigger question about what am I trying to figure out in my life? Because often, particularly if you're interested in this spiritual life and consciousness, and let's face it, you wouldn't be listening to me if you weren't, you have to be able to go deeper and deeper into the deeper reasons of why things maybe are not going the way you want them to. And often it's to do with distraction, that you will, if you want to be a millionaire, or you want to be number one at, maybe you want to win an Oscar, for example. If that is going to distract you from your deeper spiritual reasons for what you're doing here, what you're trying to figure out in your life, it won't happen until what you want and the deeper question that you're figuring out in your life, until those two are in alignment, you'll keep hitting up against what feel like roadblocks. So always go deeper, but this thing of what you don't get what you want, you get who you are, is a great place to begin to kind of hold the mirror up and to take the focus off, I want the Lamborghini, I want the Oscar, I want whatever, and to kind of go, what's going on inside me that maybe I can learn, and maybe I need to change or preen myself of certain ways of thinking. I need to maybe look deeper into how does this fit with the other things in my life, the themes that run through my life. So it's great. It's a good one. That's why it's written on a mirror in the meme. Okay, I'm on a roll. I wrote this one as well. It's kind of a continuation in a way. It says, as within flows without. The more we face our shadow, the less we project it onto others. The more tolerance we have for ourselves, the more tolerance we have for others. The more kindness we show ourselves, the more kindness we show to others. And this is a great thing to come back to keep coming back to, being kind to ourselves. Because you would kind of think, I don't want to be a selfish person, I don't want to be just thinking about myself the whole time. But really, it's so easy for us to give ourselves a hard time. It's so easy to be kind to other people, or it's a lot easier to be kind to other people. Not everybody, I know, but in terms of to extend a kind of kindness, to understand and go, they're going through a hard time, or look what they've come through, look at the childhood they had, look at the pressure they're under, to extend that. But for ourselves, like, no, what are you doing wrong? You shouldn't have done that. What kind of an idiot are you? The cruelest things that anybody has ever said to me are nothing compared to the things I've heard in my own head. Because inside, I know all the secrets. I know all the things. I know all the little triggers. I know everything. So the sort of cruelty that was there, it's a lot less now, is incomparable to what other people would do. And from working with loads of people, I know it's the same, and you can hear it in people, the way people talk, and they're in their conversation as well. You can hear how hard they are on themselves. And this is just a reminder that, this meme is just a reminder that kindness starts with yourself. If you can be kind to yourself, you can actually be more genuinely kind to other people. Because it's this idea of 360-degree love that I talk about, where it can't be 180-degree love. It can't be just forward-facing, like, I'll just love everybody. But for myself, no, I'm going to go home and beat myself up. It has to be this 360-degree love. I didn't write the next one, but I think it's very good, and it's just really simple. It's written in kids, the sort of things that you stick on a fridge, kids' letters. And it says, it's okay to be happy with the calm life. And that is a real break to the momentum, particularly if you've ever noticed when things are going really well and then suddenly you start to feel a little bit uneasy. People have described it like, oh, I'm waiting for the other shoe to fall. I'm waiting for the axe to drop, the hammer to fall. You know, it's like that uneasy feeling of when everything's okay and there's nothing going on. It's in those moments that you can see that maybe I'm a little bit addicted to drama. Maybe I don't like it, but then I didn't like smoking either. I did, but then I didn't like the effects of it. And it's in that when that's what I love about this meme is it just puts the brakes on that feeling of the momentum that goes on, where you're just going from one firefighting thing to the next firefighting thing. When you think about it, it's okay to be happy with the calm life. It's like, am I? Isn't that a bit boring? And when you hear yourself saying that, you go, oh, great. It's very arresting, I think. I find that one. Even though it seems like, oh, it's lovely, it's written in kids' writing, it's okay to be happy with the calm life. Oh, isn't that lovely? But when you sort of really look at how it registers on the inside, how it lands with you, you're like, oh, okay. Maybe, why do I think that's not a great idea to be happy with the calm life? I didn't write this one, but it's a classic. It always gets a lot of positive likes and sharing, and you know when people do that thing, if they tag their friend in the comment and go, hey, look at this, and it's very simple. It says, don't half-ass anything. Whatever you do, always use your full ass. Yeah, and it's that thing of being committed. That's, it's a funny way of saying, like, whatever you do it 100%, do it 100, and, people say 110%, which isn't, you can't actually do things 110%, but, it means to commit fully, to do that. And I do that, I'll jump to the life hack thing, because the way I do the life hack. I've started doing life hacks. This is my life hack, is that I do things 100%. And the reason I do them and where I'm coming from is I don't have any regrets. I don't want to look in the mirror and go, maybe if I tried a bit harder, maybe if I'd committed a bit more, maybe if I had, been a bit more 100% with it, it would have worked. I definitely don't want to have that. So I don't commit to as many things, mainly because I'm taking care of that idea of I don't want to have any regrets. So I might say no to more things than I would if I didn't have this kind of thing. But when I say yes to something, I'm fully behind it. Everything I have, I bring to it. And if it works, fantastic. But if it doesn't work, I don't have that feeling of like, maybe if I'd done a bit more. I don't have that. I don't have that with anything. So that's my life hack for this week, is I do things so that I don't have any regrets. And that applies to everything. Relationships, people, friendships, love, children, parents, work. Don't say yes to the job if you're not going to give it 100%. Get a different job. Get a job that you will be able to do that. Or say to yourself, okay, this maybe is not the job I want, but I'm going to do it 100%. I'm going to give it everything. Don't half-ass anything. Whatever you do, use your full ass. The next one I didn't write, Lao Tzu did. Lao Tzu is the guy who wrote the Tao Te Ching, or is supposed to be the guy who wrote it, the Tao of being. And it says, without the pretense of certainty, it's easy to be compassionate. And I've found this to be true. It is such a lovely thing to keep returning to, because when you realize that certainty makes you rigid and it's not real, there is nothing to be certain about, That's kind of that's the crisis that science is going through, is that it has a certain amount, an amount of certainty has come into it. Like, we know the answers. We know the answers to these questions. Instead of the original scientific intent, which is, this is our best work in theory. New information will change. New information will change. So it's like science is kind of weaving back and forth between dogma and the true, pure scientific method, which is show me the information and then we'll change if there's a change that needs to be made, and we'll be open to everything and we'll apply it, but it's got a bit confused at the moment, or it's going through a bit of a growth period, let's say. But just personally, once you see that certainty leads to a kind of hardness inside, then letting go of certainty to do with everything allows you to be much softer and much more compassionate. If you have shoulds, if you have this is the way people should live, this is how to live a good life, this is what a good person is, if you've had any of that kind of stuff on the inside, it will make you rigid and it will stop you being compassionate. Because compassion is a very fluid, it's like a wellspring that just comes up inside you. Where you just see something and you understand there's a being in there doing their best. Their best might be terrible, but there's still a being in there doing their best. And you can have compassion for that being. I mean, it's that thing of trust everybody, but don't leave your wallet on the bar, which is great. I think it's a great saying. And it's a great thing of like, yeah, love everybody, trust everybody, but, you got to see what people's best is. And sometimes it's atrocious. But that doesn't stop you from being able to see the being in there doing their best. And that's where the compassion comes from. Whereas when you're rigid of like, anyone who does this is if you've got any of those kind of equations going on inside you, then you won't be able to be soft and compassionate. Farm news. I don't really have a huge amount of farm news. There hasn't been a lot going on. Since the sheep have been since the majority of the sheep have gone, it's almost like we're all just catching our breath. I can let my dog out now and we can go for a little walk without him being on a lead. And, but when there were too many sheep around, it would be just too hard for me. It's too hard for him not to chase. They're Scottish Terriers. They're Scottish Terriers, the two of them. Only one of them likes to chase things. But Kirk is he just can't help himself. It's in his genes. He just do it. But now we can. Now we can walk over to the shed and come back, so that's lovely. And it just feels a bit quieter, which is weird because they weren't that noisy. But it just feels, you can feel like there's less pressure on the land generally. Hey, do you know these podcasts are on YouTube if you're listening? Yes, they are. And when I go and answer questions, I usually like to go out and about when I do that and walk around. So you get to see the beautiful nature that I live in on YouTube. So yeah. It's, if you just go to YouTube and search for Further Emergence, you'll find them. Did you also know I have a blog? And I also fixed how to sign up for my Sunday notes. So now, if you want to get my friendly notes on a Sunday, if you go to the website, a little thing will appear at the bottom. If you go to furtheremergence.com, a little bar will appear at the bottom saying something like, let's keep in touch. And then you hit that button, it brings you to this other place and you put your details in and you will be able to get my little friendly notes. And they are very good, if I do say so myself. They are great fun. So, yeah, so I write a blog and then I also write these friendly notes every Sunday. Just want to remind you about the trainings I've got. I've got those a little bit more organized this week. So there's 3 trainings there. There's the meditation training. There's a big craniosacral masterclass. So if you're a craniosacral therapist, there's a masterclass series there, 8 or 9 hours of video on the website. If you go to the website, Further Emergence Trainings, you'll see the drop down for the 3 different trainings. Then we've got the meditation for growth and achievement. No, that's a different website. That's probably on Tony Robbins's. Meditation for growth and consciousness. That's more my bag. So that's the kind of beginning of putting meditation in the context of growth in consciousness and taking it away from this kind of gym model of, I've got to go and do my meditation, and kind of going, this is a tool, this is an intensification of the process that's already happening, which is becoming more conscious. It's already going on. And let's use meditation to amplify and intensify that process. So that's a 4-week training. It's very good. It's a very good start. So you've got the Craniosacral one, I mentioned the meditation one, and then the next one, which is starting on Wednesday, is dealing with the psychic world, which is the next natural thing that happens. Once you start to meditate, once you're interested in consciousness, once you're interested in spirituality, you invariably bump into the psychic world. Now, what do I mean by the psychic world? I'm talking about the lot. Angels, demons, ascended masters, elementals, hoppers, spirit guides, psychic entities, possession, channeling, you name it, all of that stuff. Okay, and even just that, I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg for what we could talk about. And you invariably encounter this, and it's so easy to, in your descent towards the mystery, you go through the psychic world, and it's so easy to get sidetracked. And some people can spend their whole lives sidetracked, because it's the more you pull back from existence, the more real it gets. So everything in the psychic world is more real, but you have to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. So this training is about how it is structured, why it is the way it is, how it operates, how to not get distracted by it, and how to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper in your growth in consciousness. So there's that training as well. It's coming up on Wednesday, and like all trainings, if you're in the live call, it's going to be more powerful. Okay, it'll be recorded. It'll be available afterwards, but it won't be the same, and the price will probably go up as well when it goes into being a recording. Don't know what yet. So next Wednesday, the 31st of May, that's when it starts. And again, go to the website and you'll find all the details for that. In response to the question I post on Instagram, what's the biggest challenge you're facing in your spiritual life at the moment? Someone wrote, dealing with the illness of someone I dearly love and fear of a future without them. Oh, this is so difficult. I totally feel for you. This is such a difficult place to be. Strangely, your interest in consciousness and spiritual life is actually helpful in these kind of situations, because you will be in the process of, or have developed the capacity to hold two seemingly opposing things. You probably heard me saying before, paradox is a common thing in the spiritual life, or certainly my experience of it, the spiritual life. So the two seemingly opposing things to hold here are, on the one hand, it's part of the makeup here that our unconsciousness gets attached to things, whether that's our personality and our life and our who we are and our memories and our ideas about ourselves, or the people around us, or our possessions, or our home, or all these things. It's kind of built into unconsciousness to get attached to things and to think that things are going to last forever, when everything points towards that not being the case. Everything points towards that nothing's going to last forever. But that doesn't make any difference to our unconsciousness. It still gets attached. So when somebody that we love is sick, and we kind of know it's the sort of sickness that's the beginning of the end maybe, and we begin to think about, oh, what's life going to be like when this person I love so much is not going to be here anymore? And we get the pain, we feel the pain. So that's one thing. Then we also know that you can also know at the same time that there is a transcendent part of us, that there's a deep part of us that is eternal in a way, because, the sort of questions I talk about of, well, where was I before I became conscious? Where was I before this? Not so much where am I going afterwards, because I'm like a fully formed personality now. It's kind of what a lot of people think about. Where am I going? Where do we go? I'm more curious about where I was before, where I came from. But they're both bookends of the same question, which is, who am I when I'm not all of this stuff? You know, when you get rid of everything else, who am I? And you could arrive at a very bleak, nihilistic, I'm nothing. But I don't have that sense, you know. I don't really know what I am. It's a bit like deep dreamless sleep. You know, I go to sleep with all the different things of the day, thinking turns into dreaming. Then I go to the psychic world, and then I drop out the bottom into deep dreamless sleep, and there's nothing. Nothing at all. No me, no personality, no possessions, no loved ones, no body, meaning no my body, no house, no nothing. All gone. I mean, isn't that death when it's all gone? And yet, like, I run to my bed at night and like, oh, I'm so tired, I can't wait to go to sleep, which is another way of saying I can't wait to not exist. And then I wake up in the morning, I come back from that place, and I'm refreshed. Somewhere I know it's a good place. And somewhere I know that the connection I have with the people I love, that the love is eternal. Not the love of the person, the personal attachment, but the experience of the love, what I tap into. It's not a feeling, it's a knowledge. And it's a knowledge of an eternal thing. And you kind of can know that you may not connect with the person in that kind of physical way. You may not see them in front of you, but the connection that you have with them is inside you. And that's eternal. It's always there, you know? Like if you think about people who have passed away, you know, and the love that you have for them, it's still in there. It's still inside you. It doesn't go, you know? And you know, I've said before, like, you know, when you love somebody, you don't feel it in their body. Their body might trigger you to feel it, but you always feel it inside you. And so it's always there. So we also know there's an eternal quality to the love and connection that we have with the person. And it's sort of personal, but it's also sort of not personal. So these two things, you can hold these two things at the same time. This pain of attachment and what am I going to do if they're not around anymore? You know, the very understandable pain of attachment, the possible loss of this attachment. And you can love that part of yourself. Like I talk about unconsciousness a lot, but I'd never want you to get the idea that you're supposed to, you know, that you think your unconsciousness is a bit stupid or a bit beneath you, or you have to beat it out of yourself. You know, like love is the thing that transforms consciousness, unconsciousness into consciousness. So if you can feel yourself feeling the pain and the worry and, oh, what am I going to do with this person when they're not around? You can love that part of you, like you would with a child, you know? A child that's upset about something that you know is not real. Like they're worried about a character in a cartoon. And you'd kind of, you know, you don't kind of go, oh, what an idiot. You know, it's a cartoon. It's not even real. You know, somebody just drew that, for God's sake. You know, get a grip. You'd never say that to a child because you recognize that the concern that they're feeling is real for them. So you sort of meet them where they are. And as, you know, you give them enough space to move around, experience what they need to experience, and then move towards a greater understanding of the situation, you know? Like how many kids who have been told that Santa Claus doesn't exist, by the time they're told that, are kind of like almost relieved because they figured it out years ago, but they just didn't want to say anything because they didn't want to, their parents were so into it. I know that was the case with me, you know? In fact, my father got a bit upset when I alluded to the fact that I'd been awake the previous year when he was trying to push the presents into the bedroom, you know, the Christmas presents that were supposed to be coming from Santa, you know. So you love that part of yourself. Love the part of yourself that's worried and attached. You know, don't use the deep or profound knowledge to make the other part wrong. Both can exist at the same time. You can have the knowledge that what that part of you is concerned about is not real. You never lose anything. You know, the only thing that's going to change is that you don't have the physical person in front of you anymore. You don't have that physical connection. But the inside stuff doesn't change. And you can see this in your own experience, because you could go on a holiday, okay? And the only difference between not seeing the person and the person having passed away is the knowledge of that, okay? If you're on your holidays and you're in a, you know, you're the other side of the world, and that person comes to mind, the love just comes up. Just comes straight up. You know? Now, what happens when the person's passed away and the love comes up is the attachment, my unconsciousness, latches onto it and goes, oh, they're gone, they're not here anymore. Completely missing the fact that the love is the same. It's exactly the same. So it's the same way. You give that the unconscious part of you, you give it space and you give it love, and you, through giving it love, it becomes more conscious. You know, if you sort of attack it and go, I should not feel this attachment, boo, attachment's wrong, bad attachment, you know, if you do that, it doesn't go anywhere. All you do is squash it down on the inside, you know. And like, as you know, if you've lived at all, you know that if you squash things down on the inside, it's like a sandwich, you know, you squash it down, everything comes out the side, comes out sideways. And when things come out sideways, they're always much more chaotic. You know? So you love that part of you. You let it feel the concern, let it feel the anxiety. Use the deeper part of you, the part of you that knows the love is eternal, to share that love with that part of you, to kind of go, let it sit on your lap, let it cry, let it do whatever it needs to. Love it, and then it will transform and become more conscious. So I feel for you. It's a very difficult place to be in, because you just instinctively know that it's coming towards the end of this person's body, that the cells don't want to stay together anymore. They want to go back. They want to be free, and the person wants to be free. But they're attached and you're attached, and that's all okay. You know, it's okay. But you at least have the benefit of your deeper knowledge, where you can check in with the love and go, you know what? It's true. It's there all the time. And it'll be there when the physical body's not there anymore. Because love is just this huge, expansive sea on the inside that's got no ending. So, in response to the question I posted on Instagram, what's the biggest challenge you're facing at the moment in your spiritual life? I had two responses. One person said daily life. As a person in their early 70s, the day-to-day is a challenge to maintain basic health, good blood circulation, cognitive alertness and good mood. I need to meet many challenges, cook healthy meals, keep moving and keep mentally and socially active. Instead, I gravitate, literally, pulled by gravity, towards relaxing, watching Netflix or reruns and just chilling. But then, there goes the health. So these are my day-to-day challenges. And then somebody else said, adjusting my daily life in a way that I can make enough money while doing what I love. At the same time, struggling with promoting and posting in social media the things that I love and do. So with both of these people, I had to kind of write back and go, yeah, I understand. I totally get what you're saying, but how does that relate to, or how is that a challenge to your spiritual life? And I think they're both having a good think about that. So at the moment, because it's easy to confuse the details of life with spiritual challenges, you know, like working, just paying your taxes, go grocery shopping, having to shower, having to, you know, all that stuff. That's just the nuts and bolts of existence, okay? And the nuts and bolts of existence can be a challenge to your spiritual life, but not necessarily. Or you have to make the connection to it. You have to see how it is, because without seeing it through the lens of your spiritual life, it's just like the stuff of life, you know? But everything, everything in the stuff of life has a spiritual significance. Everything in your whole life has spiritual significance if you look for it, okay? But if you're not looking for it, it's just like, oh my God, why does everything take so long? Why do I have to wash this cup? And then I have a cup of tea, and then I've got to wash it again. And then I have another cup of tea, and I've got to wash the cup again. Okay, I'm going to buy 15 cups. I'm sick of washing cups, you know. Well, it doesn't matter. You're still going to have to wash the cups, you know. You're still going to have to do all this stuff, you know. And that's fine. Once you know, you're just, you know, you find life challenging, you know, that you find the details, you know, just the day-to-day of life, you find that challenging. That's very different to that it's a spiritual challenge. Like the question about finding good work and work that you love and all that kind of thing. Like on the one hand, everybody has that, you know, everybody wants to do work that they like. So that's just part of the nuts and bolts of living. Everybody wants to do work that's satisfying and encouraging and that doesn't feel like work. You know, that's the best kind of work, isn't it? Getting paid for stuff that you like doing. How that becomes, a spiritually challenging thing is if your work is so negative that it's making you, it's just really triggering all your unconsciousness. Then that becomes then you're sort of seeing it through the lens of your spiritual life. It's like all this unconsciousness around me, for example, it's bringing up my unconsciousness, not in a good way, not like so that I can see it and, you know, transform it into consciousness. No, it's just it feels like I'm becoming more unconscious. You never become more unconscious, but it can feel like that, or it's very hard for me to become more conscious in this environment. That's a spiritual challenge. And then you might have to do something about it. You know, this marriage is very difficult. This person that I'm with is feeling like just anytime I want to do anything to you know, be peaceful and harmonious and whatever, and they just want to watch murder mysteries on the telly, or they want to get drunk, or they want to do drugs or whatever, you know. That would be seeing it in the context of your spiritual life and how it might be a challenge for you. Without that, it's just like, I'm sick of this person. I'm out of here. You know, the usual kind of relationship stuff that people have. I should, though, add this little kind of thing to it, that when you see the details of your life, the nuts and bolts of living, as I was saying, when you see that in a spiritual context, it can bring to it a kind of energy that is, I don't know what the right word is. It cuts through things. It can suddenly, you know, you might put up with the job that you're not wild about, but when you put it through the lens of your spiritual life and you realize this is not helping me become more conscious, and, you know, that's kind of what I'm about. That's why I'm here, is about becoming more conscious. So I've got to leave this job. Okay. Well, what about the money? What about the rent? What about, it's like, yeah, I just got to go. Or same with the marriage. I've just got to go. The country, it's, you know, I feel I've got to go to another country or whatever, you know. It can get a bit crazy, meaning it can get a bit intense and wild, and it can just kind of cut through a lot of the stuff that you would just, you know, put up with, because when you don't view things through the lens of your spiritual life, it's that kind of spiritual wildness comes into it. The wildness of life comes into it, you know. And that's fine, you know, like, I think it's great because it's, you know, the vitality of your whole life comes in to infuse your own life with lots of energy. But what makes it a wild ride. It makes your life a wild ride. So just be aware of that. Be ready for it. Because once you see something, you can't unsee it. And once you start to look at the day-to-day, the nuts and bolts of your life through the lens of your spiritual life, and is this a spiritual challenge? That's kind of why I asked that question. Like, what's the biggest challenge you're facing in your life, your spiritual life at the moment? Because it's different day to day, it's different week to week, it changes, you know. But once you see something as a challenge to your spiritual life, you've got the whole energy of your being and the whole energy of, you know, you've got the drop of water and the ocean both like swoosh in to plow it up, to rip it apart, to change it in a sometimes very dramatic way. And I throw my arms open to that. I'm like, bring it on, you know, because it's not like what I was saying about last week. It's like, let go or be dragged. It's going to happen anyway. So why not enjoy it? Why not embrace it? Why not like welcome it in? Yeah, come on, bring it on. Rip it apart. If it's not true, if it's false, if it's unconscious, I'll let it go. I'm going to let it go because I'm wanting to become more conscious. So don't just lightly look at everything through the lens of is this a challenge to my spiritual life? All right, that's all I've got for you this time. I trust you're well. I trust you're of good cheer. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.